Usually when you need quick directions, you just like roll down your window and ask a stranger on the street.
Right.
It's fast, it's highly transactional. They point you to the coffee shop and you just never see them again.
Yeah, you get the immediate answer, but
Yeah,
tomorrow, if you need coffee again, you have to find a completely new stranger and start from zero.
Uh-huh.
I mean, there's absolutely no retained memory of your preferences or the interaction itself.
Okay, let's unpack this. What if, instead of relying on a random stranger, you had a dedicated personal assistant?
Oh, totally different game.
Right, like someone who already knows exactly where you like to go, what routes to avoid because of morning traffic, and just remembers to bring you your specific coffee order every single day without you even having to ask.
Yeah, that's the dream.
That leap from a one-off transaction to a dedicated automated system, that is exactly what we are dissecting today. Welcome to our deep dive. We are looking at a really fascinating instructional playbook today titled Lesson 4, Build Your First Claude Cowork AI Agent.
It's a great piece of source material.
It really is. And the mission here is to guide you through a complete paradigm shift, transforming Claude from just a chat window you casually talk to into a structured workspace that executes a daily automated workflow right on your hard drive.
Yep.
Specifically, we're building a fully automated daily AI news dashboard.
Right. And to make that leap, we have to fundamentally change how we view the technology.
Yeah.
I mean, most users are currently trapped in this chat mindset.
Yeah, exactly.
Claude Chat or, really any standard LLM chat interface. It's brilliant for brainstorming or getting a complex concept explained to you or drafting a one-off email.
Right, the quick transactional stuff.
Exactly. But structurally, it all happens inside a single ephemeral conversation window.
Yeah.
Once it generates an answer, the burden is entirely on you to copy and paste that output into a Word document or your CMS or an email client to actually put it to use.
And when you start a new chat the next morning, the AI just has amnesia. You're back to square one.
Which is why Claude Cowork operates on a totally different mechanical level.
Okay.
What's fascinating here is that it is an execution workspace.
Okay.
Instead of living in a browser tab, it actually integrates with your local environment. It works inside a designated folder on your computer.
Wait, on your actual computer?
Yes. It autonomously reads files you've prepared, processes that data, generates deliverables, and this is the kicker, actually saves those finished documents directly to your local drive.
Oh, wow.
The underlying philosophy here is cognitive offloading for both you and the AI. A Cowork agent only becomes powerful because the workspace eliminates the AI's need to guess your context before the task even starts.
But wait, isn't regular chat good enough if I just write a really long, detailed prompt every morning? Like, I know a lot of developers and marketers who just use a 3-page mega prompt saved in Apple Notes.
Oh yeah, the megapod.
Right. They just copy it, paste it into a fresh chat window every morning, drop in some links, and let it run. Why go through the hassle of building a localized folder architecture if I can just paste a massive, detailed prompt to solve the context problem?
Well, it seems like a logical workaround, right?
Yeah.
But the mega prompt approach fundamentally misunderstands how large language models actually process information.
How so?
When you drop a giant wall of text into a fresh chat window, you are demanding that the AI parse, interpret, weigh, and prioritize all of those instructions simultaneously every single time.
Sounds exhausting.
It is. You are flooding its attention mechanism. In an LLM, the more context you stuff into a single prompt, the more the model struggles to retrieve specific nuances. It's a well-documented phenomenon known as the lost in the middle problem.
Also, just forgets the stuff in the middle of your huge prompt.
Exactly. It gets overwhelmed, which leads to inconsistent formatting and forgotten rules.
So the AI essentially gets distracted by its own instructions.
Precisely. A workspace physically partitions the instructions. By isolating the rules, the sources, and the templates into distinct purpose-built files, you're effectively creating a localized retrieval augmented generation, or RG system.
Right.
The AI knows exactly which file to query for the rules and which file to query for the output format. It doesn't have to hold the entire universe of instructions in its active memory all at once. It just pulls what it needs when it needs it.
That physical setup requires a specific environment, though. The Playbook notes you need the Claude desktop app installed on your machine, and it requires a paid tier Pro as the baseline here.
Yeah, Pro is fine for this.
They mention a max plan, but clarify that's only necessary if you are running, like, massive token-heavy workflows down the line. But as we start setting up this architecture, the source material throws up a massive red flag regarding permissions.
Huge red flag.
Because Cowork runs locally on your desktop, it prompts you to select a workspace directory. And the absolute worst mistake you can make is giving the AI access to your entire computer. Here's where it gets really interesting. Giving the AI your entire hard drive is like calling a plumber to fix your sink and handing them the keys to your filing cabinet and your car.
That is a perfect analogy, because if you select your root directory or, say, your entire documents folder, you are creating a disaster on two fronts.
Yeah.
First, there's the obvious security implication. You really don't want an automated agent having free reign over your tax returns or your personal photos.
Definitely not.
But the secondary and arguably bigger issue for this workflow is context pollution.
Context pollution.
Yeah, they're going to get lost. If the AI has access to your entire system and you ask it to summarize today's AI news, it might randomly pull context from an old college essay you wrote about robotics in 2014, simply because it found the key word.
Oh, because it's just searching everything it has access to.
Right. The LLM doesn't inherently know what files are relevant until you define the boundaries. The Playbook is incredibly rigid about this. You must create one clean, isolated folder. Start small. Name it something hyper-specific, like Claude Cowork News Dashboard.
Keep it contained?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Inside that isolated room, every single file has a clear, defined purpose.
Yeah.
The AI can't get distracted by irrelevant data because the irrelevant data physically does not exist in its environment.
Okay, so once we have that isolated room, we have to furnish it. We have to build the brains of the operation.
The fun part.
Yeah. The source lays out a very deliberate architecture to put inside our main workspace. You need 3 specific folders named About, Outputs, and Templates.
It's just an important question, though.
Yeah.
Why these specific folders? Well, this is where we shift from just using an AI to actually programming an AI without writing a single line of traditional code. The About folder holds your behavioral logic. The outputs folder is obviously the destination for the finished daily reports. And the Templates folder provides the structural anchor, because language models are inherently stochastic.
Meaning they introduce randomness.
Exactly. They introduce variation to sound natural.
Yeah.
So a template forces the model to adhere to a rigid structure every single time it runs.
Let's dig into that About folder, because the specific files you put in there totally dictate the success of the entire dashboard. The instructions require creating 3 markdown files.
Yep.
And if you're listening and thinking, why markdown and not just a Word document? It really comes down to efficiency. Markdown, which uses the MD extension, is a lightweight, plain text format.
Super clean.
It strips away all the invisible, clunky formatting code that Microsoft Word or like a PDF uses. It is incredibly cheap for a language model to read, which saves on token usage and processing time.
Yeah, it is basically the native language of these models.
Yeah.
So inside that About folder, the first markdown file you create is sourcelist.md. This is your boundary for reality. The text suggests limiting this to 5 to 8 highly trusted sources, places like the Anthropic blog, Google DeepMind, TechCrunch, The Verge. You are explicitly telling the AI, do not scrape the open internet for rumors. Only pull data from these specific URLs.
And the rules written inside that file are aggressively strict about truth. You write explicit commands, no duplicate stories, do not treat rumors as facts, and crucially, if a claim is uncertain or the AI cannot verify a data point across those specific sources, it must explicitly tag the item with the phrase, needs verification.
You are engineering a safeguard against hallucination. Look, LLMs are designed to predict the next most likely word. They naturally want to give you a confident, complete answer, even if they have to invent the details to do so.
Right, they want to please you.
Exactly. By writing needs verification into the system prompt, you are giving the AI a sanctioned off-ramp. You are giving it permission to admit it doesn't know something.
Which is huge. So we've established where the AI gets its reality. But a list of sources isn't enough because to an AI, a minor bug fix in a software update looks just as valid as like a sweeping international AI regulation.
Right, you can't tell the difference.
It needs a rubric. And that brings us to the second file, dashboard.Rules.md. This file acts as the AI's editorial judgment. You instruct the AI to score every piece of news on a scale of 1 to 5 based on practical impact and urgency.
You are defining what important actually means in the context of your specific business. You might write rules prioritizing major model releases or new enterprise agents, while explicitly instructing it to filter out pure opinion pieces, funding rumors, or tiny incremental updates that don't change user behavior.
Yeah.
Without this scoring rubric, the AI lacks the capacity to weigh impact against hype. It simply processes text. The dashboard.Rules.md file gives the AI an analytical lens.
But, identifying a crucial, highly scored software update doesn't help much if the AI summarizes it sounding like a used car salesman.
Oh, the AI voice.
We have to actively suppress its natural tone, which is where the third file comes in, writing-style.md. The Playbook's instructions here are honestly ruthless. It demands clear, direct English with short sentences. And it includes a hilariously specific banned word list.
I love this part.
You explicitly forbid the AI from using generic hype words like revolutionary, game-changing, unlock, unleash, seamless, and dive into.
Banning those words is arguably the most critical usability step in the entire playbook. We all instantly recognize that overly enthusiastic, artificially polished AI tone.
Oh, yeah?
It feels like a corporate press release, and human brains are now trained to just immediately tune it out.
Let me challenge that, though. If we ban exciting words like revolutionary or game-changing and force it to only use short, factual sentences, won't the final report be incredibly boring to read? Doesn't it strip the energy out of reading the news?
Well, boring, in the context of a daily business workflow, is actually highly efficient. Consider the end user of this dashboard: a busy founder, a creator, or a marketing director. They are reading this at 8 a.m. to make decisions.
Right.
Artificial enthusiasm is friction. It forces the reader to parse through adjectives just to find the verb. When you ban fluff words like unleash seamless workflows, you force the language model to explain the actual mechanics of the news. It has to say, this tool reduces rendering time by 20%. Directness makes the information actionable.
Okay, I see. It forces the AI to rely on facts instead of vibes. I love that.
Exactly.
So we've forced it to be factual, analytical, and direct. We take all of that and we tie it together with the templates folder. Inside there, you build unused dashboard-template.md. This is the literal mold for the output. You define the headers, executive summary, the 1 to 5 impact score, why it matters.
You could even add custom angles to the template, like forcing the AI to draft a specific LinkedIn post based on the top-scored story of the day. It transforms a raw list of links into a highly structured utilitarian tool.
So we have the rulebooks written. The folder architecture is locked. But an architecture is completely useless if the AI just ignores it.
Right.
We have to guarantee the AI actually reads these markdown files before jumping into its task. And this is where we set up global instructions.
Global instructions function as the operating system for this specific workspace. You find them in the Settings menu under the Cowork tab. This is where you establish immutable ground rules for the folder.
So it happens in the background.
Exactly. You write a command that effectively says, whenever you execute a task in this workspace, you must seamlessly ingest the files in the About folder, you must format your output using the Templates folder, and you must save the final markdown file directly into the ID.PutGist folder.
It eliminates the need for you to repeat the ground rules every morning. The playbook highlights the stark difference between a weak task prompt and a strong one. A weak task is opening the workspace and just typing, make an AI news report. A strong task triggers the architecture. Create today's daily AI news dashboard using the approved source list, editorial rules, and template. Ask me questions first if anything is unclear.
And we connect this to the bigger picture. That directive, ask me questions first, changes the entire dynamic of the interaction. When you initiate the task, you will see the Cowork interface light up. It shows you its internal monologue.
Which is really cool to watch.
It is. You'll see it actively reading the source list.md, scanning the dashboard-rules.md, and pulling the data. But a properly designed agent will often pause its execution to ask you clarifying questions.
Right.
It might stop and say, I found a major story about a new developer tool and a story about marketing regulations. Which audience matters most to your strategy today?
A lot of users get frustrated by that, though. They feel like, hey, I built this system so I wouldn't have to think, just do the work. So what does this all mean? Well, global instructions are essentially an employee handbook, and the daily task prompt is your morning stand-up meeting.
That's a great way to put it.
If the AI asks clarifying questions during that stand-up, it means it's actually contextualizing the job rather than blindly agreeing to execute a task it doesn't fully grasp.
Yeah, because the alternative to a clarifying question is a hallucinated assumption. If an LLM encounters a gap in its context and isn't permitted to ask for clarity, its underlying programming compels it to just guess.
And it's usually a bad guess.
Right. It will fill the void with generalized lowest common denominator data. By forcing the agent to pause and ask, you are ensuring the final output is tightly aligned with your specific immediate needs. It's a feature of a robust system. It is not a flaw.
So we run the task, we answer the quick clarifying question, we watch the agent read the sources, filter the noise using our 1 to 5 rubric, strip out the hype words, format it perfectly into our template, and then silently drop a finished markdown file into our O2P UTS folder.
It's incredibly satisfying.
It really is. But doing this manually every morning is still a loop. The ultimate goal of the playbook is absolute automation, taking yourself out of the repetitive loop entirely.
Yes, taking the human out of the execution phase. Once you have run the task manually a few times and verified that the AI perfectly adheres to the boundaries of the workspace, you crystallize the workflow.
Okay.
You save your strongest task instruction into a dedicated file, like daily news dashboard-task.md. Instead of typing a prompt, your only input becomes telling the Cowork agent, run the daily news task.
But the real apex of this playbook is the schedule feature. The source explains that on supported accounts, you simply type schedule into the command bar and instruct the system to run the entire workflow at, say, 8:00 a.m. every single day.
It's magic.
You just wake up, open your laptop, and a highly synthesized, custom-curated industry report is just sitting locally on your hard drive. But there are physical realities to how this operates, right?
Yeah, there's a catch. Because Cowork is executing locally, meaning it is interacting with your desktop environment to read and write files. It is bound by the physical state of your machine.
Right.
It operates similarly to a local cron job or a background script. For a scheduled task to trigger the API, access the local folders, and generate the document, your computer must be awake, and the Claude desktop app must be running. If your laptop is powered down in your bag, the automated trigger will just fail.
The playbook also highlights several pretty catastrophic mistakes users make when trying to automate too quickly, like writing bloated context files that confuse the model, or failing to explicitly define the output directory, which results in the agent generating the report and then essentially throwing it into a digital void where you can't even find it.
Yeah, it just vanishes.
But the most dangerous mistake is scheduling the agent before manually stress testing it. I mean, I'd be terrified to just let this run on autopilot while I'm asleep. What if it hallucinates a major news story? If a massive, complex tech story breaks at 3 a.m., I am relying entirely on an AI to synthesize reality without my oversight.
Which loops us entirely back to the folder architecture. The fear of an autonomous agent hallucinating facts while you sleep is exactly why you spent the time engineering those about files.
Ah, right.
The playbook specifically flags skipping verification as a fatal error in system design. You commanded the AI, separate facts from analysis, do not invent missing numbers, and most importantly, if a claim is unclear, flag it as needs verification.
So the skepticism is built directly into the prompt's DNA.
It has to be.
Meh.
You're not blindly trusting a language model to be truthful. You have engineered a local ecosystem that forces the model to expose its own uncertainties. If the agent cannot corroborate a breaking story across your 5 specific sources, it is structurally obligated to visually warn you in the final output.
And that perfectly illustrates the core philosophy of this entire playbook. It outlines a very clear evolutionary path for how we interact with this technology. Prompt, then process, then system, then automation. Flawless outputs don't materialize from a magic 3-page mega prompt.
No, they do.
They are the result of meticulously designed systems.
Exactly. The architecture does the heavy lifting, not the chat window.
Prompt, process, system, automation. We have walked through how organizing local files, enforcing rigid templates, and defining strict behavioral rules transforms a simple chat interface into a highly reliable, autonomous digital employee. One that delivers a customized briefing straight to your hard drive.
And while the playbook focuses entirely on an AI news dashboard, the mechanical framework is universally applicable.
Oh, absolutely.
Once you understand how to build a localized workspace, you can construct agents for daily lead generation, competitor price analysis, or parsing hundreds of weekly customer support tickets into actionable product updates.
It fundamentally rewires how you perceive the tool. You transition from asking, what question can I ask this AI, to what automated system can I build with this engine, which leaves us with a really lingering thought. If AI can now perfectly execute these complex, repetitive synthesis tasks on autopilot tasks that used to take human analysts hours of reading and formatting, how does that alter our core role in the workplace?
That's the big question.
Right. If we are moving away from being the information gatherers, it seems inevitable that we need to become system designers instead. The stranger on the street just became your dedicated personal assistant. The only question left to explore on your own is, What are you going to build with all that reclaimed time?
You transition from performing the labor to managing the intelligence that performs the labor.
Something to carefully ponder as you begin mapping out your own workspaces. We'll leave you to it.